Let me introduce you to Hashi, Darius, and Malachi. You know what they have in common? A lot. They're brothers, and they commit burglaries together. Malachi's 18, Darius is 14, and Hashi is 15. Now, here's what's frustrating about this. They've all been involved with the juvenile system. Every one of them. Malachi, who's now 18, and Darius, who's 14, are already prolific offenders. Hasashi had a grand theft, and he received a diversion, not even a criminal charge. But did he appreciate that? No. Not only did he get a diversion and a break from the criminal justice system, but then he had a court appearance. Do you think he showed up? No. And oh, by the way, he ran away. He was a missing persons since August. Now, Darius, he's an interesting sort. He said he was the lookout on the night they were doing the car burglaries because he said, I was already on probation for that kind of thing. So he chose only to be the lookout. He didn't want to break into any of the cars. He was just the lookout. He had 7 previous vehicle burglaries and 6 thefts, 13 counts. He was allowed to merge all those into one grand theft count and receive probation. So they gave him a break in many ways by merging all of his felony charges and his misdemeanor charges into one grand theft charge and gave him probation. Did he appreciate the probation? No. He's a prolific offender. Guess what? He even said to us, Highland City, we thought we were in Highlands County. You know, that's just one step above stupid. He doesn't even realize where they were breaking into the cars. Now, Malachi, he's the oldest brother. He's now 18. He got to go to the real jail. But here's a message. The Department of Juvenile Justice has a real problem determining who is a prolific juvenile criminal and who is a juvenile that makes a youthful mistake. Well, here's your sign. They're all prolific offenders after the other night. We charge them collectively with 304 criminal counts because they broke into a litany of cars in the neighborhood. Now, while I'm getting on to the Department of Juvenile Justice for not holding people accountable, I need to tell them this. Think about it. When you don't draw the line, when you don't make the juveniles responsible and accountable, when there aren't consequences, why shouldn't they continue with their criminal conduct? And that's what's happened. There was no significant consequences to match their conduct, so they continued on to do what they wanted. Malachi is going to get him a new awakening in the adult system. And we're going to work with the state attorney's office to try to get Malachi's attention. But let me take this a step further. While I'm stepping on toes, how about the victims? The cars weren't locked for the most part. And there were a lot of items taken out of the cars to include a car or two where there was a firearm. Now, as a victim, how would you feel if your firearm was used by one of these 3 kids to shoot or kill one of my deputies that night because you didn't take your firearm in the house? You've got to lock your cars. You've got to take your firearms in the house and secure them. That's right. Because the homeowners didn't do what they should have, my deputies had to face 3 armed felons that night in order to take them into custody. Darius, who was only 14, and the lookout didn't look out very well, I guess. Or maybe he did for our benefit. Hasashi, the one who has the least criminal history, is the one that fought with the deputies. Here's my message. If there's not responsibility and there's not accountability and there's not consequences, criminals will continue on their criminal rampage. The system needs to wake up. We need the community's help. Lock your stuff up. Take your guns in the house at night. After all, if the gun's in the car and somebody breaks into your house, it's not doing you any good in the car. You can't protect yourself in the house with your gun in the car.
So, is this the first time that Malachi got into the adult system? And they all have juvie records, right?
They all have juvenile records.
They call them felons. So you can, the little kids, the 14 and the 15-year-old, they had felonies as well.
They had previous felonies, and they've got felonies again. And Adarius admitted, I was on probation for this same thing. That's why I was the lookout, because I was on probation. So that tells you the system hasn't gotten his attention. He didn't recognize that it wasn't okay to go out and commit more burglaries. You know why? Because he wasn't held appropriately accountable. He didn't receive the right consequences from the juvenile system. And let me tell you, I've been in law enforcement long enough. I remember the days when the felons owned Florida, and we will go back to those days. If the juvenile system doesn't teach these kind of people early on, there's significant consequences when you break into people's cars and you steal their stuff, especially firearms.